The last time Nevada led the nation's headlines, it was the epicenter of the 2008 housing crash. But in 2025, the unraveling is happening even faster. Prices are plunging by as much as 23%. Foreclosures are surging to the highest rate in America. And entire cities, once booming with pandemic buyers and investors, are already trapped in freefall. In Nevada Housing Crash 2025, 10 cities already in freefall. We'll reveal the places where the American dream flipped overnight and why families who paid double for their homes just 2 years ago now face devastating losses. But why is Nevada collapsing first? And which city's downfall will shock you the most? In the early months of 2020, Nevada became a magnet for migration. Thousands of new residents arrived from California and other high-cost states, chasing lower taxes and more space. The state's population growth rate ranked among the fastest in the nation between 2020 and 2022. Housing demand soared, and home prices in Las Vegas, Reno, and Henderson jumped by as much as 60% in just 2 years. Institutional investors moved in at scale. Companies like Blackstone and Opendoor snapped up entire blocks of homes, sometimes outbidding families with all-cash offers. In some neighborhoods, iBuyers represented up to 20% of transactions, pushing prices even higher. Local agents reported bidding wars on entry-level homes, while developers rushed to break ground on new subdivisions across the suburbs. The frenzy echoed Nevada's past booms. Nobel laureate Robert Shiller warned, "Markets with the fastest run-ups are always the most vulnerable." Nevada fits the classic boom-bust pattern. By late 2021, speculation was driving the market as much as genuine need. Flippers and short-term rental investors joined the rush, betting on an endless appreciation, but the pace was unsustainable. By mid-2022, affordability began to unravel. Wages lagged far behind home values, and monthly mortgage payments doubled for new buyers as interest rates climbed. The cracks were visible, but momentum carried prices upward a little longer. Behind the scenes, some investors started to quietly list properties, sensing the peak had passed. The stage was set for a sharp reversal. Monthly mortgage payments in Nevada have more than doubled since 2021. Buyers who locked in loans at 3% rates just a few years ago now face renewals above 7%. For a typical home in Las Vegas or Reno, that means a jump from around $1,500 a month to well over $3,000, including taxes and insurance. Insurance premiums themselves have climbed 40% or more in many neighborhoods, especially in areas flagged for wildfire or flood risk. Stagnant wages have deepened the squeeze. Median household income in Nevada hovers near $70,000, but the cost of owning an average home now eats up more than half of that before taxes. Mark Zandi, chief economist at Moody's, calls Nevada's affordability crisis among the worst in the country. He points out that payment-to-income ratios in Las Vegas and Henderson rival those seen right before the 2008 crash. For many families, the math no longer works. First-time buyers who stretched to purchase in 2022 now find themselves underwater, unable to refinance or sell without taking a loss. Retirees on fixed incomes are getting hit with insurance bills they never budgeted for. Even renters aren't immune. Landlords are passing on higher costs, while vacancies rise as tenants leave for cheaper states. As payments outpace paychecks, the risk of missed bills and forced sales grows. The affordability crisis isn't just a headline, it's showing up in rising delinquencies and early foreclosure filings across the state. The pressure is building, and the fallout is only beginning. In 2008, Nevada's housing market collapsed harder than anywhere else in America. Home prices in Las Vegas plunged by more than 50%, and foreclosure rates soared to nearly 1 in 10 mortgages, twice the national average at the time. Entire neighborhoods emptied out, leaving rows of vacant homes and a state economy in freefall. That legacy still shadows Nevada's housing market today, but a new factor is adding pressure: water scarcity. Nearly 90% of southern Nevada's water comes from the Colorado River. In August 2023, federal officials imposed Tier 2 shortage restrictions, cutting Nevada's annual river allotment to 272,000 acre-feet, a 7% reduction from the original compact. For 2025, those cuts are expected to continue or even deepen. The Southern Nevada Water Authority now requires any new development to prove it won't increase water use. Grass lawns are banned for new homes, and outdoor irrigation is limited to 2 days a week during the summer. In Las Vegas and Henderson, Water bills have climbed by almost 20% since 2023, with more hikes on the way. Developers are pulling back. Clark County issued 22% fewer new home permits in 2024, the largest drop since the Great Recession. Projects once seen as sure bets, like the Painted Sands subdivision, have been put on hold indefinitely because there isn't enough water to guarantee service. Hydrologists at the University of Nevada estimate drought policy alone will cap southern Nevada's future population growth by up to 15% compared to pre-drought forecasts. For buyers, lenders, and builders, water security is now a real constraint, raising costs, limiting supply, and fueling anxiety about long-term property values. In Nevada, the crash isn't just about prices or jobs, it's about whether there's enough water to sustain the boom at all. North Las Vegas stands out as the first major warning sign. In 2025, the city's median home price has dropped 13% year over year. Inventory is up nearly 45%, and foreclosure filings now hit almost 1 in every 850 homes, by far the highest rate in Nevada. For families who bought at the height of the frenzy, the reality is grim. Many used FHA loans with just 3.5% down, locking in at prices above $420,000. Today, those same homes are worth $345,000 or less, leaving owners tens of thousands underwater. Some neighborhoods are lined with for sale and foreclosure signs, echoing the scars of the last crash. The pain is most acute for first-time buyers from 2019 to 2022, many of whom now face mortgage payments they can't afford and no way to refinance. Delinquency notices are piling up. In interviews, local agents describe entire blocks sitting vacant for months, with average days on market more than doubling since last year. Investor-owned homes are flooding the listings as Wall Street firms and iBuyers rush to cut losses. Sparks, just outside Reno, is facing its own reversal. Developers race to build new apartments and subdivisions during the pandemic. Boom, expecting endless demand. Instead, renters are leaving. By mid-2025, rents in Sparks have fallen 12% year over year, the sharpest drop in the region. Landlords are now offering free months or slashing prices just to fill units. Vacancy rates have climbed to levels not seen since the Great Recession. For tenants who signed leases at the top of the market, breaking even is no longer possible. Both cities show how quickly fortunes can change. Overbuilding, investor retreat, and affordability shocks have turned boom suburbs into ground zero for Nevada's housing crisis. The dominoes are falling first on the edges, where the promise of easy money has given way to a wave of distress. Pahrump, an hour west of Las Vegas, saw its fortunes rise and fall on the backs of out-of-town investors. During the pandemic, prices soared far beyond what most locals could afford. By 2025, the market is unraveling. Foreclosure filings in Pahrump have jumped 25% in just 12 months, the sharpest increase in rural Nevada. Rows of empty houses line new subdivisions, with retirees on fixed incomes forced to sell after insurance premiums jumped by more than a third. Many bought in 2021 expecting a quiet retirement, only to find their budgets overwhelmed by costs they never planned for. In Henderson, the story plays out differently, but with the same end result. Once a magnet for luxury buyers and tech workers, the city now faces a glut of unsold high-end homes. Tech layoffs across the region have left hundreds without steady paychecks. Real estate agents report that properties once snapped up in days now sit on the market for months. Price reductions are routine, especially for condos and new builds that catered to remote workers. As investor demand dries up, sellers are slashing prices to attract buyers who can actually qualify for a loan. Carson City, the state capital, is buckling under the weight of its own affordability crisis. Median home values remain far above what most local workers can pay, and job growth has stalled. Mortgage applications have plummeted, down 60% from last year, while early-stage foreclosures are ticking upward. Many owners who bought at the top now face tough choices: sell at a loss or risk falling behind. For renters, options are shrinking as landlords raise rents to cover ballooning insurance and maintenance costs. These cities reveal the breadth of Nevada's vulnerabilities. Whether driven by investor pullout, job loss, or stagnant wages, the crash is spreading beyond the outer suburbs and into the heart of the state's economy. Reno's housing market, once the poster child for Nevada's pandemic boom, is now facing a sharp reversal. Since the 2022 peak, median home prices in Reno have fallen 15%. The rush of buyers and investors has vanished, replaced by a backlog of unsold listings. In January 2025, Washoe County hosted its first major foreclosure auction in over a decade. 200 bidders showed up, but most watched as homes sold for as much as 40% below their 2022 values. One former owner described the experience simply: "We lost everything we put in. The house went for less than half what we owed." Casino layoffs have rippled through the city, cutting off a key source of local income. Dealers, servers, and hotel staff who once counted on steady tips are now searching for work. The number of active job postings in Reno's hospitality sector is down by more than half compared to 2 years ago. With fewer paychecks, demand for housing has weakened, and landlords are offering rent cuts or free months just to fill empty units. Days on market for condos and single-family homes have more than doubled since last spring, leaving sellers with little choice but to slash prices. In Mesquite, the pain takes a different form. Here, retirees make up a large share of homeowners. Many live on fixed incomes, relying on Social Security or pensions to cover monthly bills. But in 2025, property insurance premiums in Mesquite have jumped by 40% or more. Some residents received renewal letters demanding over $4,800 a year, 3 times what they paid just a few years ago. For many, the math no longer works. Local advocacy groups report a surge in older homeowners forced to list their properties, unable to keep up with costs that outpace their savings. Elko, in the state's northeast, is reeling from a different shock. The region's economy depends on mining and energy jobs. Both sectors have slashed payroll since 2024. Active job ads for miners and technicians in Elko have dropped by more than 50% in 3 years. Layoffs have pushed families to the brink, with mortgage delinquencies rising and homes sitting unsold for months. One union leader summed up the mood: "When the mines cut back, the whole town feels it. People lose jobs, then they lose their homes." From casino towns to retirement enclaves to mining hubs, the fallout spreads in every direction. No corner of Nevada is immune to the crash's reach. Paradise, the sprawling suburb wrapped around the Las Vegas Strip, became the epicenter of Nevada's short-term rental boom. At its peak in 2022, more than 21,000 Airbnb and VRBO listings dotted Clark County, with Paradise accounting for the largest cluster. But by 2025, the story has flipped. New county ordinances capped permits, banned rentals near schools, and forced thousands of hosts to delist or sell. Over 1,700 former short-term rentals in Paradise alone hit the market, as either long-term rentals or for sale within 18 months. The numbers tell the story. Median home prices in Paradise fell from $490,000 in late 2022 to $378,000 by the third quarter of 2025, a drop of 23%. Short-term rental revenue per listing plunged 35% as occupancy rates collapsed. Many small hosts, some with just 1 or 2 properties, faced a hard choice: sell at a loss or keep paying mortgages that now carried interest rates above 7%. For those with adjustable rate loans, monthly payments doubled in just 2 years. Meanwhile, the Strip's slowdown hit local workers. Casino layoffs and weaker tourism meant fewer renters and buyers. As for sale inventory in Paradise jumped by 72%, homes lingered on the market for months. Open house signs lined residential streets once filled with vacationers. Local agents reported a surge in auction listings as owners rushed to exit before prices dropped further. Las Vegas itself, long seen as a bellwether for national housing cycles, is once again ground zero. The city's median home price peaked in 2022 and has since fallen 18%. Inventory has soared by 75%, with more than 6,500 homes listed for sale, triple the count from just 3 years ago. For families who bought at the top, the math is punishing. Mortgage payments on a typical home are now twice what they were in 2021, swallowing more than half the average household's income. The auction scene is making a comeback. In the first half of 2025, Clark County recorded more than 200 foreclosure auctions, a figure not seen since the aftermath of the last crash. Most homes sold for well below their previous purchase price. One local host summed up the feeling: "Can't cash flow, can't legally rent, everything must go." The combination of regulatory crackdowns, investor exits, and rising costs has left both small landlords and working families exposed. The crash is not theoretical. It's playing out on the ground, reshaping neighborhoods in real time. Investor ownership in Nevada's housing market reached levels rarely seen elsewhere in the country. In 2021, nearly 1 in 5 home sales in Las Vegas involved institutional buyers, according to Redfin. That left neighborhoods heavily exposed when Wall Street firms and short-term rental operators began selling off properties en masse. The wage gap only widened the risk. Median household income in Las Vegas and Henderson remains around $70,000, while the cost of owning a typical home now exceeds half that amount each year. Daryl Fairweather, chief economist at Redfin, notes that investor activity peaked in late 2021, leaving local buyers to face prices and payments detached from reality. Add Nevada's reliance on tourism and service jobs, sectors among the first to cut workers in a downturn, and the market's fragility becomes clear. These systemic weaknesses set the stage for a rapid escalation in distress. Nevada's foreclosure process moves at a speed few states can match. Unlike judicial states where court backlogs can stretch proceedings for over a year, Nevada's non-judicial system allows lenders to take a home from notice of default to trustee sale in as little as 7 months. In 2025, statewide filings reached 1 in every 2,069 homes, the highest rate in the country. Policy analysts point out that this rapid timeline means distress surfaces in market data sooner, pulling prices down faster and sending a clear warning to the rest of the nation. In Clark County, expired forbearance programs and modification denials have left many owners with little time to recover before losing their homes. Nevada's fast-track foreclosures don't just reflect local pain, they act as a bellwether, showing how quickly a downturn can ripple through investor-heavy and wage-stretched markets elsewhere. In 2025, Nevada leads the nation in foreclosure rates, with Las Vegas home prices down 18% from their 2022 peak and median payments nearly double what buyers faced just 4 years ago. This documentary has shown how investor speculation, stagnant wages, and rising costs collided to trigger a statewide collapse, echoing the 2008 crisis. Official records confirm that pandemic-era gains have reversed in every major city we covered, leaving thousands of families underwater and local economies under strain. Yet several questions remain. How long will prices keep falling? When will affordability return for working families? While state policymakers are still debating solutions, the evidence is clear. Nevada's housing crash is no longer a warning. It's a documented reality unfolding now. For residents and buyers alike, understanding these patterns isn't just useful, it's essential as the fallout continues to reshape Nevada's cities.